We have just started our program and with Steve Raichlen today, and let me just tell you a few things before we start the program. I want to tell you thank you for coming to these Darien programs because without you, we would be nothing. And it's been so wonderful to be here and entertain you and help you learn new things. The Friends of the Library underwrite these programs, and we really want to thank them for that. We also want to thank the Barrett's Bookstore in Darien, who have many of Steve's books on their shelves just in time for Father's Day, which is next weekend. I thought it was this weekend, so I'm ahead of the curve. Steve will be taking questions at the end of the program. Just type them in to the Q&A box and we'll get to them. Now let me give you a little intro on Steven. Steven Raichlen is the author of the New York Times best-selling BBQ Bible cookbook series, which includes the New Brisket Chronicles, Project Fire, barbecue sauces, rubs and marinades, Project Smoke, the BBQ Bible, and How to Grill. He is the winner of 5 James Beard Awards. His books have been translated into 17 languages. He is the TV host of a public television series in France called Le Maître du Grill. That's probably not the right way to say it. And an Italian series, Steven Raichlen Grills Italy. We also have a television series, Project Fire, Project Smoke, Primal Grill, and Barbecue University. Steven has written for the New York Times, Esquire, all the food magazines, and is the founder and dean of Barbecue University. In 2015, he was inducted into the Barbecue Hall of Fame, and tonight he is sharing his time, which is very tight around Father's Day and summer grilling. So sit back, enjoy, take notes, and put your questions in, and we would love to hear from you later.
Hi, everybody. I'm Steven Raichlen, coming to you live from Chappaquiddick Island on Martha's Vineyard. And you may be surprised to know that there is a vegetable book, How to Grow Vegetables, from Steven Raichlen. After all, I'm the guy that wrote the Brisket Chronicles, Best Ribs Ever. My books like BBQ Bible and How to Grill are filled with meat recipes. But I want to assure you that I have not gone over to the dark side. Grilled vegetables are a big part of my diet, but I'm still an ardent meat eater. In fact, in this book, well, about 90% of the recipes are vegetarian and about 60% of the recipes are vegan. There is meat in the remaining recipes. It might be bacon used to wrap zucchini. It might be serrano ham used to wrap padron peppers, or tiny Nordic shrimp placed in a quesadilla with roasted poblano chilies. So I like to think that there is something for everybody. So why did I write How to Grow Vegetables? Well, I wish I could tell you I started with noble motives, health reasons to improve our physical health, because a plant-based diet is a very healthy diet. Also for the health of the planet. It takes a lot less energy and resources to grow plants than it does to raise animals. But the real fact of the matter is that I wrote How to Grow Vegetables out of self-defense. You see, my daughter is a full-blown vegetarian. My cousin is a vegetarian. My wife has strong vegetarian leanings. In fact, every time I leave the house, I wonder if she'll be a complete vegetarian by the time I come back. So self-defense, but I guess the main reason is that there is no better way to cook a vegetable than on the grill. The high, dry heat of the grill caramelizes the natural plant sugars, making the vegetable supernaturally sweet. Meanwhile, the charring of the outside of the vegetable, or when you cook over charcoal or wood or add wood chunks to your fire, you impart a smoke flavor. Smoke is the umami of barbecue. It has the amazing property of making you taste familiar foods and sit up and feel like you're tasting them for the first time. More on that in a minute. So at any rate, I decided to write How to Grow Vegetables. I decided to write it while I was on tour for the Brisket Chronicles, touring such carnivorous heartlands as Kansas City, Dallas, Houston, Texas. And when I would announce to audiences at book signings there that I was writing a book on grilling vegetables, I got the usual, the imaginable boos and hisses and groans and grunts of protestation. But interestingly, at the end of those signings, guys would come up to me, and it was always guys, one by one, sort of a little tug on the shoulder. You know, I'm really glad you're writing a book on grilling vegetables. I want to eat more grilled vegetables. So hopefully I haven't alienated my base completely, but I sure had a lot of fun writing this book. The other thing that was kind of funny is when I was on tour for Brisket Chronicles, going throughout these meat-centric places, most of my restaurant dining was at vegan and vegetarian restaurants to get ideas for the new book. Because when I start a new book, the first thing I do is I pack a suitcase, and all of my books involve travels. A book like Planet Barbecue took me to more than 70 countries on 6 continents. Well, isn't grilling vegetables just like grilling meat? The answer is not exactly. In fact, one of the first things you need to learn about grilling vegetables is that no one method fits all. There's no kind of one size fits all method for grilling vegetables. And the way I like to organize the world of vegetables on the grill is to think about the 5 methods of live fire cooking. And those methods are direct grilling, indirect grilling, smoking, spit roasting, and what I call caveman grilling, that is grilling or roasting foods directly on the embers. So when it comes to a high moisture vegetable, like let's say zucchini or asparagus, those, or corn, those vegetables do best in direct grilling. That is super high heat directly over the fire. Okay, it's the thin size of those vegetables, the high moisture content, and the soft flesh that makes them such great candidates for direct grilling. But let's say you wanted to grill a beet or a potato or an acorn squash. Well, those are large vegetables, they're very dense vegetables. Excuse me. And for those vegetables, you need a method called indirect grilling. In indirect grilling, your heat sources on the side, mounds of coals with a charcoal grill or burners on the sides, your food is in the center. You close the grill lid. That is called indirect grilling, and it turns your grill into a sort of outdoor oven. Cooking temperature is lower, typically 350 to 400. Cooking time measured in half hours or hours rather than in minutes. So smoking, if you bring the temperature down and you add wood chips or chunks to the fire, you do smoking. And smoking is really well suited to very wet vegetables, like tomatoes, cut tomatoes in half. One of my favorite recipes is a smoked tomato gazpacho. Another one, a smoked tomato sauce, which incidentally I place on, I use to make my grilled eggplant parmigiana, which is a fantastic recipe, super flavorful with a fraction of the fat you'd find in the traditional version. Well, the 4th method of live fire cooking is spit roasting, right? Cooking on a rotisserie. And here I'm thinking big vegetables that sort of double as roasts, like whole cauliflower, for example, or whole stalks of broccoli, where it's a stalk that might have 60 or 80 different little, not broccoli, I'm sorry, Brussels sprouts. And you tie that stalk onto the rotisserie spit, you wire it on, and spit roast the Brussels sprouts. It's absolutely incredible. The last method, my favorite method by far, is what I call caveman grilling, grilling on the embers. And to do that, you don't even need a grill grate. You lay the vegetables directly on the coals. You char the skins and you cook the vegetable in the charred skin. And the vegetables here would be your smooth skin, large bulbous vegetables like eggplant, like bell peppers, like onions. Now, when you char a vegetable on the coals, you get a very different flavor than when you cook it on a grill, even a hot grill, direct grill. What happens is the skin chars, it drives the smoke deep into the vegetable. So if you think about a dish like baba ganoush, right, the eggplant gets its smoky flavor by charring the skin. Or when you char bell peppers to make a bell pepper salad, supernaturally sweet, intensely smoky flavor. Ditto for onions. So that's sort of a quick overview of the vegetable world and how to grill it. But I also wanted to make this book about many plant foods or non-meat foods that aren't necessarily vegetables. So there's a chapter on grilled breads and pizzas, for example. There's a chapter on grilled cheese because grilled cheese is totally awesome. And I'm thinking like of an Indian grilled cheese kebab, uses a cheese called paneer, which has the ability, whoops, hold on. Let us decline that. Okay, are you guys, everybody there? Sorry about that. There's a chapter on grilled eggs, and this is a really fun chapter. So many years ago, I was researching the BBQ Bible, and in Hanoi in Vietnam, I came across a grill mistress whose grill was a tire rim filled with charcoal. And on top of it, she had a little grate and she had eggs, and she was roasting eggs in the shell in the grill. The grilled eggs, would then be quartered, served on lettuce leaves with basil, with fresh mint, with cilantro, sliced chilies. It was a riot, a symphony of flavors. There's even a recipe that spans 6 centuries. It's grilled eggs in the shell. And the way I got into this crazy business, I actually was a medieval French scholar. And I read a recipe from a 14th century cookbook. It was called Grilled Eggs, and you were instructed to poke holes in the ends of the eggs, blow the eggs out of the shells, beat them with herbs and seasonings, using a funnel, pour them back in the shell, put the shell on a skewer, and cook it over the grill. Well, I thought, sure, like this is really going to work. Flash forward many, many years, I was in Cambodia researching Planet Barbecue. And at many roadside grill stands, I saw kebabs made of eggs, their shells blackened with smoke and fire, with the egg mixture inside. And I won't tell you how you do it. You have to read the book to find that out. But it's a really cool procedure. The final chapter in How to Grow Vegetables is a chapter on desserts, because it wouldn't be a Raichlen Grill book if it didn't finish with desserts. Most of the desserts are fruit desserts. For example, there's a Hasselback apple cooked on a cedar plank. There is a fruit kebab that is cooked not on bamboo skewers, but on super long cinnamon sticks. And there is a volcano pineapple. I'm going to show you how to make that in a moment. At any rate, I wanted to give you a little bit more than talk, and to put action to words. So now I would like to show you how I make my grilled vegetable paella. May we have the first video, please?
That's a spectacular dish. I mean, if I made that for my friends, they would probably never go home again. And I love your straightforward directions, because usually paella scares people. And I think the fact that you did it step by step by step, it makes it very doable for people to do it.
Well, thank you. You know, what you don't see in that, we actually taped the show in September at a beautiful retreat center in Baltimore called the Pearlstone Center. And you know, it was the height of COVID. The whole crew was in masks. We had a socially distanced, of course. We had a COVID officer on the set at all times to make sure everybody was following proper protocols. And we pulled it off. We did the show. We taped 13 episodes without anybody getting sick.
Well,
The
that's
following week, another production happened, and they were not as lucky as we were. And 3 people got sick, and they had to shut down the production. So we were extremely grateful. But you know, I always like to thank the crew. You see one guy in front of the camera there, and you think, he's doing everything. I mean, I'm only a small cog in a very big wheel, and a lot of people go into making a show like that
oh
happen.
yeah. Well, that was beautiful. I think you've inspired a lot of people to make paella for next weekend.
Good. By the
Um,
way, stick with us, folks, because if you stick with us to the end, I'm going to
yeah.
show you how to make a volcano pineapple.
Yep. We have some good questions for Steve. Somebody asked earlier today, if you are buying a Father's Day present grill tool, not a spatula, not a fork, not a knife, not tongs, what would you buy?
Well, I hate to toot my own horn here, but we just came out with it's a barbecue flavor. I guess you could almost call it like a treasure chest, and it has some of my Project Fire barbecue rubs. It has cedar grilling planks, cedar grilling papers. There are smoking chips. There's a smoke in a can thing. It's really cool. And if you go up on my website now, barbecuebible.com, you can find that and my other suggestions for barbecue Father's Day gifts. Let's see, I think your viewer probably wants me to think out of the box. So if your dad has a Weber kettle grill, but doesn't have the rotisserie attachment,
Oh,
that
wow.
rotisserie attachment is really awesome, and that will bring you thanks. A good knife is always a great present for Father's Day. My favorite knife, every season I have a new favorite knife, and this favorite knife, it was something called a nakiri from Shun Knives, and a nakiri is a Japanese vegetable knife, and it kind of combines the virtue of a French chopping knife and a Chinese cleaver. So that would be a very cool gift. Just always, when you give a gift as a knife, put a couple pennies in the box. That way it's been a business transaction and not a present. So if the person cuts themselves, it's not like you gave a dangerous gift.
Well, that's a good suggestion. We had another question. Now, you said you went from French scholar to barbecue king. I don't understand where that bridge was. So could you explain it a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. It's sort of as it was happening, none of it had made any sense, but looking back, it all did. So I majored in French literature at Reed College, and I wrote my thesis on a medieval French poet named Christine de Pizan, who was Europe's first feminist and the first European female writer to earn her living by her pen.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was doing my research in the stacks at Reed College, I came across a medieval cookbook called the Book of the Form of Curry, curry being the Middle English word for cooking. And it blew my mind, the fact that people were writing recipes and cookbooks 600, 800 years ago. So my school was one that nominated people for the Watson Foundation fellowships. Tom Watson founded IBM.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I proposed to study medieval cooking in Europe. And much to my great astonishment, the Watson Foundation gave me money to eat and drink my way through Europe. So
Wow.
reading medieval recipes, and by the way, they all started with take this, and take in Latin is RX. And back in the Middle Ages, pharmacy and cooking were very closely related. So when you see an RX at a pharmacy, you find the same thing in medieval recipes. Anyhow, typical medieval recipe read something like, take some of this, that, and the other, and combine in the customary fashion. Well, I didn't know what the customary fashion was, but I figured if I went to a modern French cooking school, I might kind of learn about the method. So I enrolled in the Cordon Bleu, and then I moved over to La Varenne. And that got me kind of doing food, in a physical way and not just an academic way. And it was really, that year was all about sort of the intersection of food and history and culture.
Yeah.
And I decided that I would make that my life's work. So I moved back to Boston, and I became a freelance writer. And I wrote my first story for the Washington Post, And then my second story for the Oregonian, and the third one was for the local hippie alternative paper called The Real Paper, if any of you
And I remember it.
okay, from way back when. And that led to a regular column, and that led to becoming the restaurant critic for Boston Magazine. And so that's how my food writing career began. So I did Boston Magazine for 10 years, and then I became the wine and spirits editor for GQ. And somewhere along the line, my mentor, a woman named Anne Willan, who founded the La Varenne Cooking School in Paris, said to me, you know, Steve, you'll never make a living writing cookbooks. So, of course, the challenge was launched, the gauntlet was thrown down, and I decided I would make a living writing cookbooks. Well, she was right in many senses, because my first 5 cookbooks did not make money. But then the 6th one, which I did for La Varenne, for Workman Publishing, it was a book called Miami Spice. I had just moved from Boston down to Miami, and the way I kind of process travel and living in new places is I write cookbooks about it. So that came out, and I was off. That did make money, but more importantly, it established a relationship with Workman Publishing.
Yeah.
So
terrific.
Where the heck did the barbecue come from? Well, there was a detour into writing books about low-fat, high-flavor, low-fat food, because when I was a restaurant critic, I developed a cholesterol problem. And so I created this kind of style of cooking and eating that lowered my cholesterol. Then they invented Lipitor, and I was free to pursue barbecue. Barbecue, it was November 1994. I remember where I was sitting, what I was wearing, what the weather was like. Time sort of slowed down. And I heard this voice as though from heaven saying, follow the fire. And the idea was that I was to do a midlife Watson Foundation fellowship. I was to travel around the world, documenting how people grill in different countries and cultures. And that book became the BBQ Bible. And it was, you know, the right book at the right time with the right publisher. And it took off, became an international bestseller. So I was off.
Yeah.
So then, did I specialize in barbecue? No, not yet. I thought, well, this traveling around the world thing, that's a pretty nice gig. So how about we write a noodle Bible? And I could go, you know, do another world tour on noodles. But somehow it just didn't come together with maybe the same joyfulness that barbecue did. So one night I made a list of all the things I wanted to accomplish with barbecue, and they included other books on other aspects of barbecue. It included a TV show, a website, a line of products, a barbecue university, foreign program. And I'm a great believer in lists. Around that time, I'd read a book by Napoleon Hill called Think and Grow Rich. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but it's his premise is basically, if you can conceive it and believe it, you can achieve it. And the way you do that is by making lists. And I made a list and I put it in my wallet and just carried it around for a year, and damn if it didn't work. And everything on that list has come to happen.
That's great.
Some things have taken longer than others, but it's been an amazing run. You know, I think what's been so fascinating about it for me, and what keeps me engaged with it, is, first of all, barbecue is so broad. I mean, everybody in the world loves barbecuing and grilling, and yet it's so specific, meaning that every country, every culture does it differently. It can be a Bubba sport, as you would do in the States. It can be very elegant, as you would do it in Brazil. It can be poor man's food, as you would do as in Southeast Asia. Not that rich people don't eat it, but it's that's the entry level. If you are, you know, if you're going to be a street food purveyor, the cheapest entry level is grilled, because if you have a pair of tin snips and you can scavenge a 5-gallon can of shortening, couple snips, couple bends, and you've got yourself a grill. You don't even need a propane tank and a ring burner like you would if you were deep fat frying. There's a history element, there's a strong travel element, and everybody's passionate about it.
Yeah.
So that's
well, thank you, IBM.
Thank you, IBM. IBM is headquartered in Connecticut, right?
Used to be. I don't know if they are anymore, but they certainly sponsored a smart guy, and look how lucky we are to benefit from your knowledge.
Thank you.
I have a few other questions. Let's see. Someone asked because they saw that you had included pizzas in this book, which to me sounds very difficult. And they said, is it hard to make a pizza on the grill?
Yes and no. I'm a sort of do-it-yourselfer kind of guy, so I always start by making the dough first. And the particular dough I've chosen for this one is inspired by Nancy Silverton. So it has a sponge starter, and then you make the regular dough. It's a sort of a 12-hour process. But as I quickly say, you can just get dough from your supermarket or your local pizza parlor, and it'll be fine. I give you two methods. The more common and easier method is you put a pizza stone on the grill, you heat it, and then you put the dough with the pizza toppings on the stone. You do cook it as you would in a pizza oven.
Yeah.
The more interesting way is you stretch the pizza dough out in oil on a baking sheet, and then you drape it directly on the bars of the grill grate. And the heat underneath pops and blisters, and the dough, it bubbles up, and then you turn it over, slide it off the fire, you put your toppings on. The toppings, interestingly, go on in the reverse order, right? Cheese first, because that takes the longest to melt, then your anchovies and capers, last of all, your tomato sauce, because the tomato sauce is already cooked. And of course, in this instance, the tomato sauce would be made with smoked tomatoes. So if you do it the full Reichlin Monty, yeah, it's a little involved. But if you take a few shortcuts, you can have a pizza ready in 30 minutes.
Sounds awesome. Someone asked, how many grills do you own?
So a lot. Let's see, I've got probably 10 or 15 up here in Martha's Vineyard. I've got 10 or 15 in Miami. And then I run the school called BBQ University.
Yeah.
Which actually coming up over Father's Day weekend. How's that for a Father's Day present?
That's a great present.
And we have about, I guess we have about 30, 35 or 40 grills there. So
wow,
it's a lot of grills.
A lot of grills. Well, that's your business. Let's see what they say here. Oh, would you talk about plank grilling and salt slab grilling?
I will, both quite popular, and neither existed when I wrote the BBQ Bible. So it just shows how much this field has evolved. So cedar planking hit the world barbecue world, I'd say maybe about 15 years ago. And we were instructed to soak the planks in water, then put the food on top and place it on the grill. And you were sort of cautioned not to let the plank catch fire. Well, I was even guilty of proffering that advice for a while. But now what I do is I take the plank, I put it directly over the fire. Wow. I actually char it so much sometimes it catches fire, then put the food on. Then it's an indirect grill. But by charring the plank that way and singeing the edges, you release all the smoke flavor in the cedar. So traditionally, cedar planking was done for fish like salmon. These days, in how to grow vegetables, let's see, I use it for making that cedar plank eggplant parmigiana, which is fantastic. And then I do a dessert called Hasselback apples. Now, does everybody know what Hasselback potatoes are?
I do.
So take a potato, you make a series of poker chip thin slices, almost to the bottom, but not quite. Slather butter in it, indirect grill it, and the slices fan open and get crisp like that. Well, I did the same thing with apples, using a cinnamon ginger butter and then basting the whole thing with a lot of rum. So that's a pretty cool application. Now, salt slab. So that's a slab of Himalayan salt, comes from Pakistan. The same salt deposit mountain, by the way, where Alexander the Great led his horses to a salt lick while he was in the process of conquering India. And what you do in the salt slab is you roast foods. It's really good for big root vegetables and squashes. Like when I cook an acorn squash, I cut it in half, take out the seeds, place the halves on the salt slab, and roast the squash cut side down on the slab. So you're getting kind of intermingling of the squash juices and the salt, which is great. The slab gives you a very even heat. And then at the end, you turn the roasted acorn squash halves over, and you fill them with a Parmesan custard, savory custard, obviously, it's Parmesan flan. So that's pretty cool. I do have one little warning for you. This is something we found out the hard way when we were taping the last season of Project Smoke, my TV show on PBS. And that is, do not use a salt slab when it's really cold out, because if you open that, you heat the slab gradually, but if you open the grill suddenly, the blast of cold air will make it explode. And this actually happened while we were taping something I call salt slab chocolate brownie s'mores. So when you see the recipe in the show, I actually do it on a cedar plank because the salt slab exploded. Happily, nobody was hurt.
Thanks for that SOS. Also, I read about your idea of using straw or hay for grilling, which I doubt most Americans have ever thought of.
Yeah, so this is a technique that I learned in central Italy, and it's used there for smoking mozzarella, to make smoked mozzarella or a cheese called scamorza. And I think the idea behind it is that when you smoke with wood, you're looking at a smoking time that's measured in hours. Hay catches fire, burns up, releases smoke, and is out in 2 minutes. So it's great for smoking foods that would be damaged by prolonged heat. Like cheese, if you tried to smoke cheese for mozzarella for 2 hours, it would all melt and you'd find it at the bottom of your grill. Ditto with lettuce. If you smoke lettuce for a long time, it would wilt. So what you do in this recipe is you place the lettuce on a wire rack over a pan of ice, and then you light the hay or straw at the other side. It catches fire, huge cloud of smoke that dissipates within a minute, and it gives you a delicate, haunting smoke flavor on the lettuce, but keeps the lettuce crisp and cold.
Who knew?
Who knew?
Thank you. Okay, and here's a big question. Safety tips, question mark, question mark, question mark.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's a good one.
Was one.
Yeah, that's a good one. So number one is learn to control the fire, not have it control you. Okay. And this is something that guys especially need to learn. You know, we all know the guy, because I was one of them once. You build a raging fire, you throw all the food on it, and you hope somehow by some miracle it won't burn. And you repeat that 200 or 300 times before you get it. So the way we avoid burning is we mound the coals more thickly at the back, more thinly in the center, to have a searing zone and a cooking zone. Most important, 30% of your grill is coal free. So if stuff starts to burn, you can pull it to the front over the safety zone. Some other tips for safe grilling: always have a fire extinguisher on hand. If you work on a gas grill, it's a good idea to have a box of kosher salt on hand, because if you get a grease fire, you can sprinkle it with kosher salt, and that will put the fire over. I personally recommend not grilling barefoot or in flip-flops, because especially if you're working with coals, you know, you get sparks flying. I also advise extreme caution when grilling on a wood deck. By yourself, there's one of those sort of concretized grill pads, you know, that'll keep the embers from burning up. And if you're grilling in the winter, I know you guys have winter up there in Connecticut. I personally have tried to avoid it, but if you're grilling outdoors, don't grill under a tree bough that is laden with snow, because the heat will melt the snow and you'll get a big pile of snow cascading on your head.
Good tip. Good tip. All right, now let's see. What's your favorite vegetable to grill? Is it possible to have a favorite vegetable?
I love them all. You know, that's the favorite child question. And on any given day, yes, absolutely, I can tell you which one is the favorite. Right. But on the big picture, you love them all. But I will say that probably corn is the vegetable I come back to again and again. I've probably written 20 different grilled corn recipes. There are 5 in this book alone. That's how much I love grilled corn. I grill it naked, by the way, not me. The corn with the husk stripped back. Okay, so bare kernels exposed to the hot fire.
Okay. Someone's asking, what's the easiest food to grill?
Corn.
Corn.
The easiest food or easiest vegetable?
I guess the easiest vegetable because this is
Easiest vegetable without a doubt is eggplant because you can burn the bejesus out of it and it still tastes delicious.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Someone wanted you to share the Reichlin baker recipe.
Oh, that's a good one. So, but that wasn't a plant, by the way. I can't even see who's asking the questions here. So the Reichlin baker, it starts, you take a baking potato and you brush it either with extra virgin olive oil or baking fat, prick it with a fork, and it's indirect grilled on a grill with either hickory smoke or oak smoke. So you're smoking it and grilling it until it's cooked. Then you cut it in half, you scoop it out, you mix it with, might be smoked cheese, scallions, sour cream, butter. You put that back in the shell, you sprinkle it with pimenton, which is smoked paprika. We're getting a theme here, right? It goes back on the grill, a little butter on top, and it indirect grills just until the filling is gosh. Yeah,
so delicious. That's a keeper. All right, and I have to go to my computer because there's some more questions online.
Well, you're getting a lot of great questions here.
Yeah, let me just see if I can pull them up. Okay, this is not cooking, but it's a whole different question. I recognize the Hindu calendar, and two of them myself. Any reason why you have that?
Yeah, it's a souvenir from when I was writing my book, Planet Barbecue. Of course, we went to Indonesia because that's the birthplace of the satay, which is, probably the second most famous kebab in the world. And so I always try and come back with some interesting art from the places where I've studied the barbecue. So that was a calendar that we bought in Indonesia. And I have a second one that's really longer rather than wide. And I don't exactly remember where that's hanging, but they're beautiful. I mean, just incredible handicrafts. Thank you for asking that. That's a nice memory.
It's always interesting to see how many people really study where you're sitting and what's around you. There's another question. In your opinion, what is the best for grilling and smoking, briquettes or hardwood charcoal?
Natural hardwood charcoal, without a doubt. And there's a very simple reason why. Natural lump charcoal is just wood, plain old wood. Briquettes are a composite mixture of coal dust, sawdust, borax, petroleum binders, and sand. Actually, the sand slows the rate of combustion. But before you get too, down on briquettes, you should know that at most of the big barbecue competitions like Memphis in May, Kansas City Royal, etc., that is the fuel people use, and they make totally amazing barbecue. The advantage of a briquette, if you look at a chart with lump charcoal, it sort of gets very hot and then it peters out, burns out very quickly. And briquettes will maintain the same grilling temperature evenly for about an hour.
Interesting. Let's see. Someone wanted to know about the smoker pouch you mentioned in your intro.
Yeah, so this is a way to smoke on a gas grill. And what you do is you take a sheet of a heavy-duty aluminum foil. One side you put a pile of hardwood chips like hickory chips or cherry chips. And you can soak them briefly if you want the smoke to last a long time, or you don't soak them if you want to get a quick smoke. You fold the top over, you tightly pleat the sides, and you make a hermetically sealed pouch. Then with a pencil or a meat thermometer, you poke holes in the top and you place that pouch under your grill grate directly over one of the gas burners. Or you do that 3 or 4 times. And you run your grill on high until the smoke starts to rise, and then you cut the temperature back to where you want it. So it's a way to kind of get smoke in a gas grill.
All right, I think I'm coming to the end of your questions. Someone wanted you to give them a simple appetizer.
A simple appetizer, very simple appetizer, 2 simple appetizers, as a matter of fact. So number 1, grilled avocados. Just take a ripe avocado, cut it in half, season it with salt, pepper, and a brushing of olive oil. Direct grill it over a screaming hot fire, so you kind of char the surface of it. And then when you're serving it, you can fill it either with a salsa, I serve it with something called a salchibada, which is a Spanish grilled vegetable and nut sauce. Or there's another sauce I make. I think it's pepperdew, peppers, capers, olives, and raisins. So sort of sweet, salty, and tangy. But that's really cool. Another super simple one is to take that same avocado, smoke it using wood chips on your fire, and then use the smoked avocado to make guacamole.
So many ideas. I want to let you have enough time to give the dessert treat to our audience, but I also want to put up the book so you guys can see it. It is really terrific and great Father's Day material, along with those suggestions that Steve gave us. So do you want to cue in your goodie for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we'll do the conclusion and then we'll just come back and say goodbye. And are you making people? Are you doing book plates for people who want an autographed copy? I can do that.
Yeah, we would love to
Bookstore.
do that. I'm sure
Good.
Barrett Bookstore would love to have those available. And since everyone
Absolutely.
has at least a week left before Father's Day, just either call Barrett Bookstore or call us at the library, and we'd be happy to help you with that. And
Sure.
that's a lovely gift. This is a really terrific book. I'm psyched to start doing some of the things.
Good. All right. Well, anyway, so to thank you for joining us, I wanted to show you a dessert, a grilled dessert that uses a very singular grilling tool. So may we have the volcano pineapple, please?
Doo-doo-lee.
Sure.
The joy in your face when you were igniting the pineapple was classic. But yeah, I'll never think of pineapple in the same old way again. One question is, do you have a favorite barbecue type? I guess they're looking for a grill name. Green Egg, Weber, question mark, question mark.
You know, again, they're all my children. I love them all. The last recipe, the pineapple, was done on a newcomer. It's called a kudu, Kudu, and it's a wood-burning grill, very affordably priced, out of South Africa. And I'm super. I love those. You know, Weber kettle. If you like a pellet grill, something like a Green Mountain, a gas grill. You know. Like a Fire Magic, Big Green Egg. I love them all. I use them all. It's you know, it really comes down to a personal, you know, question of personal taste.
Yeah. Okay, so this is directly related to the pineapple. What kind of torch did you use for the pineapple?
It's called a roofer's torch, and it's like a blowtorch on steroids. And they use it for roofers use it for melting tar and asphalt. It's used for clearing out fields of weeds and stuff. You can buy it. I'm not sure where you have. I think you buy it online. I think actually you can buy it on my website, and it's definitely an awesome tool for barbecue.
It certainly looked like it. Okay, here's a question. Do you ever use grill plates to keep the vegetables from falling in?
Yes, I do, as a matter of fact. I use what's called a vegetable grilling plate, which has holes in it or slits in it. Sometimes I'll use a grill basket, which is a wire mesh basket. That's really good for small vegetables like green beans or snap peas. Grill wok, same idea. When I make my grilled vegetable frittata, which is in the book, How to Grill Vegetables, I use a grill wok. So yeah, absolutely.
And I think
by the way, the first chapter of How to Grow Vegetables, like all my books, first chapter is sort of a crash course on, and there is a whole section on all the tools you need for grilling vegetables.
Yeah. And I think this is probably our final question. Can we come over for dinner?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a funny thing. I write the books so that you can bring me into your house you cook my recipes. Well, and actually, we're in the process of launching a line called Planet Barbecue. It will be prepared frozen barbecue, my frozen barbecue that you can mail order and eat at home. And if you stay tuned on my website, we just placed our first order on that, so that'll be coming out in midsummer. And we do have vegetable sides that are grilled and smoked, as well as traditional brisket and ribs.
Well, we want to thank you for giving us your evening. I want to thank Workman Publishing for publishing this terrific book because they are lovely publishers. And I can't think of a better Father's Day gift for any of the father in our house for sure. So thank you again, Steve, and everyone can check your website for more information and your future lines. And with that, I think we'll have to bid adieu.
Thank you very much, Kathleen. Thank you, Darien Library. This was really a fun evening. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye, guys.